Hey guys, how's everyone doing? This is Nick from ForexForNoobs.com with the daily analysis. Today is Thursday, the 27th of June 2019. Time is 11:01 a.m. here in the UK. And you're looking at well, we're going to switch up to a USDCHF daily chart. A lot to talk about today. Actually, let's switch back to, how am I going to do this? I'm going to switch to that. Make that green. Right, yeah, there's a lot to talk about today, guys. Tuesday, I shared a whole load of trades. A lot of them took off. A bit of a mixed bag in terms of, well, not really. They're all, I'm not sure about all, but most of them are in profit. They're just not going as well as I would have liked them to go by this point in the week. And that's because this week, starting tomorrow, we have the G20 meetings. So G20 meetings start tomorrow. I really hate holding trades through these G20 meetings. It's just way too risky because during lunch breaks and stuff like that at these G20 meetings, sometimes you'll get these politicians talking to reporters, and what happens? They say something stupid, boom, price goes everywhere, goes crazy. So I'm just not a big fan of holding through G20 meetings, and I'm definitely not holding any trades this weekend because the meetings are happening over the weekend too. So I'm going to be closing out my positions this evening or maybe tomorrow morning. And I'm just not happy with how things are going with my trades in terms of, where they're sitting right now. Well, I only really have this trade open at the moment. It's SPX USD. Unfortunately for you Americans, you're not going to be able to trade CFDs. This is a CFD, so it's only available to, I think, most people outside America, if not everyone outside of America. But to you Americans, you can't trade these. But that's fine. I mean, there's plenty of pairs that we're going to discuss that you can trade. You're just going to have to, I guess, suffer through talking about this pretty nice trade setup that you can't trade. So SPX USD, CFD, it's the SP 500. I went short on this. I shared this trade on Tuesday's analysis. After sharing it, I entered short. First day, great. Second day, not great. Went all the way up, then came back down. Today, not great. Now, I do think this is very likely to head down to my target. It just, is it going to do it before tomorrow morning? Probably not. So I'm planning on holding on to this trade at least until tonight or tomorrow morning. I might, you never know, I might go against my instinct and keep it open if I think, there's a few reasons why I would leave this one open. Now, one of the reasons would be if price is somewhere like around here, right? If price is down here, not quite at my target, but still kind. So it's not quite at my target because the target's obviously down here, but it's kind of getting close to it. I might leave this trade open because I'd find it hard to believe that that this G20 summit's going to cause a spike from here all the way to my stop loss. Well, to be fair, my stop loss is now at break even anyway. But I find it hard to believe that's going to happen. So look, the point is, right now, game plan is probably exit this evening or tomorrow morning. That might change. It's unlikely that it will change, but it might change. I'll keep you guys updated via the forum if it does change. But right now, the game plan is close out tonight or tomorrow morning. I'm just going to let this trade run otherwise and see how it plays out over the course of today. Right, so next one. This is another trade I shared with you guys on Tuesday. Unfortunately, for those of you who are wondering what I'm doing in the UK still, because I was meant to go to Sweden, as I said on Tuesday, I woke up... no, sorry, I said that on Monday. What am I talking about? Usually I do webinars on Tuesday, but this week I did it Monday evening. So when I've been referring to Tuesday's webinar, I actually meant Monday evening's webinar. My bad, guys. I woke up on Tuesday morning and the bottom floor of my house was completely flooded. A pipe burst, and it meant that I basically had to cancel my Sweden trip absolute last minute because I had to deal with this catastrophe, which is why I'm still in the UK. Kind of sucks, but what can you do? But also, as a result, I missed a bunch of trades. I managed to get into the SPX USD, but things were just a bit too hectic. So I missed out on this USDCHF trade that I shared. This one's going, well, for most of you, this one should have been closed out with profit. Why would it be closed out with profit? It's a counter trend trade. So you would have had a target of 1.5 or at maximum 2. If you had a target of 2R, which would be here, you might still be in it. But to be honest, most of you should have had a 1.5R target. So if you went long on USDCHF on the 6 hour, which would have been kind of like here, you should be out of this one with profit. I'm going to take that off the list, actually. Euro USD, and there's nothing going on there today. Euro USD was another trade I shared. This one also triggered on the 6 hour, but I believe this one... No, it was just the 6 hour. So this one triggered on the 6 hour, headed down pretty nicely, then started pulling back up and is now just moving sideways. I think ultimately it will hit that target down here. It just looks like it's going to take a while, but the thing is, like I said, the G20 summit's coming up, so you might want to start thinking about an exit plan for this trade. I would advise against holding over the weekend with this one, unless it makes some significant moves down. So I'll keep that open as it's still an active trade. GBPJPY, I believe I shared this trade, what was it, last week or something? Can't remember. I think it might have been last week, but I shared a potential, well, we can see just by the chart. So it triggered on the 19th of June. Yeah, which would have been, so I think I shared this in last Tuesday's analysis. So the analysis I did on Tuesday, the 18th. I shared a long trade here. Now this one's not really going as well as I would have wanted it to go. It's been moving sideways for ages. The target was 1.5R. It's not really even got close to that target yet. That being said, it has made a new high today, and it has definitely found some strong support down here. So to those of you who are still holding on to this one, I suggest you just keep holding on. I mean, at this point, you're committed. The swap rate on this is positive or very, very minor negative swap, depending on your broker. But I think a lot of you are going to have a positive swap. So you're not losing anything by staying in this trade. In fact, you're gaining some interest, which is always a nice little bonus. So there's no reason really not to hold on to this trade. The fact is, it has clearly found some strong support here. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 days of price trying to get through this support area and not getting through, and now it's making new highs. So if you're still in it at this point, you may as well commit and just stay in it, because I think it's probably going to start moving up. If anything, it looks like this one we might be able to get to extend target on this one and go for a bit more. So keep this one open, guys. No reason to exit. Another trade I shared, this one was on Monday evening's analysis. DXY, again, this is a CFD. Well, it's not a CFD, but I think in the UK, it comes under the CFDs category in brokers. So I'm not sure if Americans can trade this, but it is the dollar index, so surely Americans can trade it. Are there any Americans here in the room right now? It's a bit of an odd time for Americans, so I doubt it. But if any of you Americans are in here right now, can you let me know if you can trade DXY through your broker? Because I just want to know, really. It doesn't really matter, ultimately. There was a long trade here. Counter trend long trade. Actually, no, sorry, it wasn't counter trend. My mistake. But yeah, long trade, that's going kind of okay, but just not as nice as I would have wanted it to go. I mean, obviously I would have wanted it to push up a lot faster. It hasn't really done so. There's a bit of a mixed bag, like I said, this week. We had some really good setups, but a lot of them just haven't really hit that target yet. I mean, it happens. Some weeks you get price moving to your targets quickly, and some weeks it's just slow. USD NOK, here is another one that's a bit, oops, I didn't mean to do that. Here's another one that's a bit annoying in terms of what it's doing. For many of you, it probably hit that 1.5R or that 2R target from when I shared it, but I imagine a lot of you also had bigger targets on this one because there was a lot of room to the upside. Those bigger targets have yet to be hit. Price has dipped back down to the support area and is now bouncing away again. So it's making a second run. If you're still in this one, hold on to it. I think there's a good chance that this one's going to keep going. Right, so we've covered the trades that I shared on Tuesday that have triggered. Let's look at the trades I shared yesterday. Yesterday was a members only analysis. Gil, yeah, USD NOK is great. It's a really, really good pair to trade. I also didn't pay attention to it for a very long time. It was suggested by a member who joined the Forex Mastermind course. I think she suggested it to me. I checked it out and I absolutely love the pair. Also, one of my mentoring students is really, really into trading USD NOK and some of the other Scandinavian pairs. So what is it? USD? Yeah, USD SEK. That's a Swedish krona. But I find USD NOK to be the best out of all of them. It's just so consistent and so predictable. When it hits a support area, it tends to bounce away. Like, okay, to be fair, this time it's done this kind of like half bounce and then it's at it again. So it might do this kind of W-shaped bounce, kind of like it did here. Similar. But regardless, it is a great pair to trade, and the spread's really not that bad. The spread's not that bad. Everyone, you know, you might look at this and you might think it's a weird pair, but let's be honest. New Zealand USD, even though it's classed as a major, why is New Zealand USD a major? Why? The New Zealand economy is not that strong. Compared to the Norwegian economy, look, I'm not an expert on economics, and I might be about to say something stupid here, but I think it would be a pretty... I'd bet £1,000 on the fact that the Norwegian economy is stronger than the New Zealand economy. I know it's embarrassing to say I'm not an expert in economics since I'm a trader, but everyone assumes just because I'm a trader, I'm also an economist, but they're two very different things. I'm not an economist, but I guess I do know more than an average person about the economy, and I am making fun of myself a bit here. Obviously, the Norwegian economy is stronger than New Zealand's economy. Norway has one of the better economies on this planet. So why is New Zealand USD a major and then USD NOK not a major? The Norwegian economy is strong. This is a pretty big currency. It might not be on the list of major pairs that people trade, but hey, I think there's a lot of good trading to be done on USD NOK. And don't be weirded out by the fact that it's not listed on Baby Pips or, you know, all those educational websites out there. It does seem like a solid pair to trade, very predictable moves, spreads are not that bad. Yeah, go for it. Anyway, let's get back to the analysis. So yesterday, what did I share? We were looking at AUD CAD. I was looking for a potential push up to resistance which has not happened yet. So we're still keeping an eye out on that. Yesterday I saw AUDCHF heading towards resistance. It's now stalling on resistance. So that is a pretty good sign. I want to see this daily candle close. The problem is we're really not going to enter a trade here tomorrow. So realistically, we're not going to enter trades here until Monday. But do keep an eye on this for Monday, as we might be able to catch a short trade here. If tomorrow isn't too crazy in terms of the moves caused by G20, and if the weekend doesn't give us too big a gap, there is potential for a short trade here. It's a short continuation, so I think it's a pretty decent setup. I'm a little bit afraid that it's going to be ruined. Well, not afraid, but I think there's a decent chance that it's going to be ruined by this G20 summit and some of the spikes caused by it. So, you know, it might not turn into anything. AUDJPY, very similar situation. This one is a better setup in terms of the risk to reward ratio. So we have an indecision candle forming right on top of resistance. And to those of you who don't really, now I know everyone in this room knows what I mean when I say indecision candle, but to those of you watching on YouTube who aren't familiar with my strategy, just head over to the website and check out, because I've had a few questions about this. If you head over to the website and you check out this section, I break down the free version of my strategy, which is, if you understand this, then you'll have a better understanding of this analysis. So just head over there. There's even an ebook for it, which you can get here if you can't read from the website because you're traveling or whatever. So yeah. Righto. AUDJPY, we have indecision forming on resistance. I'm looking for price to stall out on this resistance area and potentially enter a short. But again, it's not really going to happen until Monday, guys. You could feasibly enter on like the 6 hour or something like that right now, but I'm not that into the idea of opening a trade right now, knowing that I'm going to close it by this afternoon. Definitely not on the 6 hour chart. So most of these trades, we're going to have to wait until Monday. Now, I mean, a lot of you are open to the risk of trading through the G20 summit. And if so, then great, these trades are forming, so you can take them. It's just me personally, I don't like trading through G20. AUDUSD, similar scenario, price is pushing up to resistance, so let's look for a short from there. So basically, AUDCHF, AUDJPY, and AUDUSD, we're getting price pushing up to resistance, so we're looking for a short from here. Now, one thing that you guys can do if you're interested in taking all of these setups is to take all three of them. You're interested in taking all of these setups, but you know, because you're a smart trader, that if one of them fails, they're probably all going to fail because they're pretty well correlated pairs. So there's a good chance if price just smashes through this resistance area and it hits your stop loss, it's going to do so on all three of these pairs. Not a 100% chance, but a pretty decent chance. So what do? Well, you take all three of them, you split your risk evenly between all three. So let's say you normally take a trade and you risk 2% of your account on a specific trade. Now you're going to risk around about 0.7% on each of these three trades. 0.7% on each of these three trades. So you've split your risk evenly over three trades, and then you have a better chance of getting a profitable trade. Because if one of these fails, or if one of these doesn't necessarily fail, but it moves sideways, which is a likely scenario where one moves sideways while the others start dropping, that can happen. You might end up, if you only trade one of them, you might end up in the one that moves sideways and doesn't fall. So splitting your risk evenly between these three might be a good idea. Do consider it. Euro JPY. Euro JPY is pushing up to resistance, stalling out on resistance. We were looking at this one yesterday. It's doing the same thing today. Potential short here, but again, it's not going to... It won't be ready until tomorrow unless you're trading the lower time frames. You could actually enter on the 6 hour right now if you want to. Might be a bit of a late entry, but you do have... actually, no, it's not even a late entry. A good risk to reward ratio. You could do something like this, guys. Right now. 11258, enter short. I'm not telling you to enter short. I don't want anyone to rush into a trade just because you're seeing it trigger right now. That is a huge mistake. Do not do that. That's not how you think about trading. But what I'm saying is there is a setup triggering right now here on Euro JPY, a short trade on the 6 hour. Now, if you're open to trading today because you don't care as much about the G20 summit as I do, and if you think this is a good setup, if you think it meets your criteria, then right now it is triggering. So you could potentially enter 112.58, stop loss around about 123.17, and a target around about 121.03. But, you know, do your risk analysis. Don't just jump in. Play it smart. Traders who just blindly jump in because someone who they consider an expert is saying there's a trade triggering, those are the traders who end up, you know, failing because they're not thinking for themselves. So think this one through. If you want to enter, it is triggering right now on Euro JPY. On the 6 hour, Euro JPY is triggering right now. If you want to be a bit more patient, wait for the daily chart tomorrow. And if you want to be extra patient and skip the G20 like I'm doing, wait for the daily chart on Monday. So you have a lot of different options here. Choose which one you think is best for you. Right, GBPAUD. This is another setup I shared in yesterday's members only analysis that has yet to trigger. Price stalled out on support. This one's triggering soon. It's just about to make a new high. It's triggering on the 12 hour. So there's a potential long that you guys can trade here if you want to. Again, I'm hesitant to enter because of G20. I'll just repeat myself a million times with that. But you could do something like this with this one. Entry at 1.8193. Target at 1.8393. This is just rough. You saw that I just threw this thing up here without actually doing any research. I'm just giving you rough numbers. Before I enter, I would actually, you know, think about this a little more. These are rough numbers and a stop loss at 1.8104, something like that. I'd want to see a break of this high, essentially, which is happening right now, but then I'd want to see price move a bit further. A good rule of thumb is around about 20% above the high, 20% of the indecision candle itself. So yeah, there's a good potential trade there. GBPAUD and Euro JPY are both potentials, both very, very close to triggering. In fact, Euro JPY has pretty much triggered on the 6 hour. GBPAUD is getting close to triggering on the 12 hour. But again, guys, do be careful. Do be careful. Because you are potentially trading through this G20 summit if you take these trades right now. The likelihood of you trading through G20 is extremely high because it's doubtful that these trades will wrap up before the G20. This is another one potential I shared yesterday that didn't trigger yesterday, but looks like it's triggering now. GBPCAD. So again, rough numbers. Entry 1.6691. Target 1.6818. Stop 1.6620. Obviously, these numbers can be adjusted. This one's about to trigger. New Zealand CHF potential that I shared yesterday. This one's not really formed yet. I want to wait for this indecision candle to close for a potential short here. This is crazy. We haven't even looked at the other pairs. We've only looked at pairs that are open and trades I shared yesterday. Euro CHF, nothing's going on here. Let's cancel this one. Righto, AUD New Zealand. I'm going to talk about BTCUSD shortly also, for those of you interested in trading Bitcoin. But let's quickly look if we can find setups on other pairs, because I haven't shared enough setups with you today. I'm going to share setups on even more pairs, and there actually is one here on EURCAD. EURCAD stalling out on support here on the daily. Potential long on the 12-hour that's about to trigger right now. This might be the record for the amount of potential setups I've seen and shared in a single analysis session. We might be at a record-breaking thing here. Nah. Whoa, USDCAD. Okay. You want to give us a setup too? All right, I'm listening. USDCAD. I'm listening. USDCAD. Stalling out on support. Nice strong downtrend. This would be a counter trend trade, so keep your target tight. But there's a potential here. I wouldn't be surprised if it's triggering on the 12-hour soon. Yes, it is. Counter to a very strong trend, so definitely keep your target tight. Something like this. 1.3140. Target at 1.3200. Stop loss at 1.3100. And obviously extend these numbers. Like extend that target if you're getting a lot of momentum. Oh yeah, sorry guys. The short I also shared a short on Tuesday. I actually entered this short trade and I got out of it with a minor loss because it wasn't going it wasn't doing what I wanted. And it's a good thing I got out with that minor loss because it did keep moving up and it would have hit my stop. Sorry, I completely forgot about that one. So I shared a failed trade on Tuesday along with all these other trades that are doing kind of okay. Or on Monday evening, rather. Right, so for those of you interested in Bitcoin, stick around. I'm going to discuss a bit about Bitcoin. For those of you who aren't, let's just do a quick summary of the crazy amount of setups we have. And it's going to be a very quick summary, guys. AUD CAD, what I'm waiting for is a move up to resistance. It's not there yet for a potential short continuation. AUD CHF, AUD JPY, and AUD USD, and also Euro JPY. All four of these are basically giving us the same kind of setup, just a potential short from resistance. There are several options that you can take. You can trade these on the lower time frames, and you can enter today. You can trade these on the 12-hour if you want to be a bit safer, and enter later today if they trigger. Because if you're on the 12-hour, well, actually, no, sorry, my mistake. You can't enter these on the 12-hour, but you can enter on the 6-hour. So you can enter on the 6-hour kind of now-ish, especially Euro JPY. That's triggering. But keep in mind, that's going to be a risky move because we have the G20 summit coming up. To those of you who want to play it safe like me, I'm going to wait on the daily charts. And if I miss the setup, I miss the setup. What can I do? Don't want to trade through G20. I'm going to wait for the daily chart to close. And then I'm going to look at entering on Monday. GBPAUD, another one that's triggering right now, or getting close to triggering right now on the lower time frames. This one's happening on the 12-hour. So you could potentially enter there, or you could you know, or you could wait. It's not really forbidden fruit. It's just the thing is, Gil, that I'm in a position, right, that I don't need to take a lot of trades. My account is large enough. I have everything in place that I could go 6 months without taking a single trade, and it won't really affect me in terms of, can I eat? Can I afford, you know, what I need to afford? My living expenses. After 6 months, things will be like, you know, maybe I need to cut down on lifestyle a little bit. But my point is, I don't have the requirement to trade. I don't have to grow my account. So if I was in your situation where, you know, I'm new to trading and I want to grow my account, I want to take as many trades as possible, then I'd be like, okay, G20 is coming up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to enter this trade anyway, and I'm going to let it run, and I'll just see where it's at tomorrow morning. And tomorrow morning, I'm going to adjust my stop loss. I'm going to pull it up to here, to the break-even point, and just, you know, do that. So you don't necessarily have to copy exactly what I do. You have to, and everyone has to realize that every trader is in a different situation. And there's a lot of traders who are new and who are more in my situation, where they have a full-time job, they're happy with their full-time job, they don't want to quit their full-time job, and they want to have trading as just a kind of a side income or to grow their wealth, where they're targeting a nice 20-30% per year. That's what they want to make. A trader in that situation, to them, getting in on G20 is just not worth the risk, because they have small targets, 20-30% per year. They're just looking to grow their wealth. I'm going to be talking about this on Sunday's webinar, actually. So everyone is going to have a different situation, a different thing that they want from trading. And your situation, from speaking to you, is definitely different to my situation and to the situation of a lot of traders. So to you, it might make sense to enter these trades. But be smart about it. Don't just enter and then pretend G20 doesn't exist. Enter the trade. Go long on GBPAUD, right? Go long on it and assess where it's at tomorrow. If tomorrow, let's say it's going pretty well, it's up here, then say, okay, what I'm going to do, I'm going to move my stop to break even. Now that my stop's at break even, I would not hold over the weekend. That's one thing I wouldn't do, okay? That's one thing I strongly advise against for anyone to do. But move your stop to break even, hold right until Friday evening, and then just close out wherever it's at on Friday evening. You can do that. So it's not forbidden fruit for everyone. It's just, when I share my analysis, I tell you guys what I'm going to do, but you really have to adapt it to what you should do for your own specific situation, because not everyone's in the same situation as me. Some people are, some people aren't. Does that make sense? Does everyone get that, where I'm coming from with that? Like GBPCAD, this is just triggered. So if you think this trade's right for you, feel free to go long, right? Feel free to go long. I made a mistake with the target on this one. The target should be 1.5. It's counter to a heavy trend. So with this one, you'd probably want to get in around about now with a target at 1.6799. Stop loss around about 1.6620. Again, if you want to, don't just blindly enter. So I'll tell you how, if I was getting into this trade, how I would manage it. All right, so I've entered into a counter trend trade. Counter trend trades, I recognize they're high risk. So, you know, while I'm getting in on it, I do think there's a good chance that this trade is not going to work out, because counter trend trades have a lower win rate. When I say counter trend trades, I just mean when you're countering these stupidly strong trends. That's why we have that tight target. Like, for example, here, if you look back to here, we're countering a strong trend. There's a reversal set up here. So we don't want to have a target all the way up here because the trend is headed down. We want to have a small target, nab that small target before it continues down. That's how I deal with counter trend. So we're doing a similar thing here. Small target, reasonable target, nab that small target before price continues down. So you could potentially enter this GBPCAD trade here. And if things go super well, before the G20 starts tomorrow morning, price will start traveling up and hit your target. Best case scenario, of course. If it doesn't hit your target, all right, what do we do from here? Well, let's pretend start a G20, price is still stuck at your entry. Okay, this scenario, I would say it's not really going well. Well, it's not that it's not going well, it's just not going anywhere right now. G20 has started. There's a chance that we're going to get a spike and it's going to hit my stop loss. So probably close this one out right now at break even, no loss. That's fine. What if price is up here instead, halfway to target? Okay, in this scenario, let's just move that stop loss up to break even or maybe to half of its original size. And let's leave this open. Let's see if it manages to travel to target by the end of the day on Friday. Price is only a few pips from target. Just close it out. You know, why let the G20 spin things around? You're that close to target, may as well just close it out. It's at your target anyway. You're not going to hold over the weekend. Price is in a loss. So now you're like halfway to your stop loss. Close it out. Because a spike down is going to slip you. And that slippage is going to, you know, it could hurt. Another scenario, an alternative solution would be on all of these trades, just half your risk, right? So you normally enter with 1% risk, just for example. Now, because G20 is coming up, still enter the trades, but enter with 0.5% risk. Enter with half of your normal risk. That means slippage, if slippage occurs, it's not going to hurt you as much. And it means that you can still enter the trades and potentially make some profit, but you're not risking way too much. So there's a lot of approaches you guys can take here. You don't have to take my approach of sitting out. I can afford to sit out, and generally speaking, not everyone who's listening to this webinar is going to be in that same position, because if you're listening to this webinar, it's likely because you're learning to trade and you're looking for trading advice. So it's unlikely that you're in the same position as me if you're listening. So you might want to treat it differently. Righto, I've talked enough about that, guys. Let's just continue on with potential setups. We have a potential short here on resistance. EURCAD, we have a potential long. USDCAD, we have a potential long. Now, again, for those of you who don't know what potential longs, potential shorts mean, just check out the free strategy here, and I explain. This is the free version of the strategy. It doesn't include all the setups, but it includes several. It includes most of the setups we've covered in this analysis, essentially. So just take a look at this, and the analysis will be a bit more clear to you. Righto. Let's have a quick look at BTCUSD. For those of you who are interested. For those of you who are not interested, then thank you for attending this webinar, and I'll catch you guys later. I'm just going to talk about Bitcoin a bit because I do enjoy Bitcoin. I like trading it. I think it's a very exciting pair to trade. But the way I trade Bitcoin is I gamble on Bitcoin. And I'm not a gambling person, but when I say gamble, I know that sounds like a scary word to a trader, right? When I say gamble, what I mean is I go into these knowing that I can lose big. Whenever I'm looking at Bitcoin, I know that I can lose big, essentially. When I say lose big, I mean lose all of what I just put into the trade. So what I put in is what I can afford to lose. I kind of play with Bitcoin right now. Now, that being said, I feel like the trades on Bitcoin are getting more and more consistent. So I think it's becoming more and more stable and more predictable to trade Bitcoin. And I'm really starting to like it a lot. I'm just placing some support resistance areas here while I ramble on about Bitcoin. I'm really starting to like Bitcoin a lot. I've been messing around with it for like about 2 years now. But I feel that lately it's really been coming into its own and becoming something that's truly tradable. In fact, I started a website on trading Bitcoin, or trading essentially cryptos, last year, or maybe towards the end of the year before. And the idea was to have a course teaching people how to trade. But the markets were going in a way where it was just getting a bit difficult to trade. And obviously I'm not going to release a course if I'm not finding any trades on there myself. So that all went on the back burner because the market was moving pretty crappy for quite some time. But now things are really starting to pick up again. And we're getting some pretty consistent moves. So that's why I'm talking about Bitcoin. Now, the cool thing about Bitcoin is it's going up. And it looks like it might be headed back to 20K. For those of you who don't know much about Bitcoin, towards the end of 2017, it hit 20K here. And everyone was going crazy. Everyone was like, oh my God, Bitcoin's going to hit 50K. And then the unthinkable happened. Or to a lot of us, it wasn't unthinkable, but to a lot of people, it was unthinkable. They all got in at 20K and then boom, it started dropping. And it went all the way back to 3K at its lowest point, 3.1. And now it looks like it's turning around and it's making it, well, it doesn't look like it is turning around and it's making its way back up. So what's it going to do from here? Now, one thing for those of you who are trading Bitcoin, who are interested in trading Bitcoin, is keep an eye on these psychological levels. Psychological levels are rounded numbers like the 12,000, 13,000, 14,000, 15,000. It seems to react very well to those psychological levels. Yesterday, Bitcoin went absolutely nuts, shot up a long way, came back down, and it's now hovering around about 12,000. But overall, it looks like we are going to see a continuation up on Bitcoin. And I'm really interested to see where it goes from here. I'm still long on Bitcoin from, where was it? I need to switch to a daily chart to see this properly. From here, that dip there, which was around about place this one here, and these areas I'm placing, they're just evenly spaced areas. They're just 8. I know they don't look even, but that's just because of if you switch to this mode, they are even. But I use a logarithmic chart, or however you say it, for Bitcoin, so they don't look even. But these are placed every $1,000. On a log chart, they get smaller and smaller as it gets further up. But on non-log, you'll see that they're placed evenly. Anyway, so Bitcoin tends to do this kind of move where it will go up to resistance, drop down, and then keep going. But this last move, it never really pulled back until it hit 13K today. Now it's pulling back. So I'm looking at getting in long somewhere. I'm going to give it a few days because it generally takes a few days for things to kind of pan out, or to things to get clear on Bitcoin. But what I think is going to happen is, now that it's pulled back to this 12,000 level, it might keep dropping lower to about 11,000 and then start moving sideways. I'm going to look to buy around about here for a long trade going up. obviously, as long trades do. So I'm basically what I'm doing with Bitcoin is I'm just waiting for a pullback, for price to settle, and then for price to continue up, like it has done, here. Price settled, continued up. That's what I'm looking for. So I'm looking for price to settle at either the 12,000 where it's at now or around about the 11,000. So that's my analysis for Bitcoin. As we speak about BTC, can you quickly explain what whales are in BTC? Whales are, they're basically like the banks and hedge funds in Forex. They're the big traders, the ones that have lots of money, the ones that have a huge influence over the market. That's what whales are in the sense of BTC. They're not banks or hedge funds. They're influencers in the market. And if someone who has a lot of BTC sells all their BTC, then everyone's going to know about it very quickly, because all these accounts are monitored, because it's open essentially. Everyone's going to know about it very quickly, and it's going to cause a mass panic, and it's going to cause things to be sold off really quickly. That's why that's why I don't go in heavily on Bitcoin. It's just something I'm doing at the moment, playing around to have fun with it. But it's not something I do heavily. But there is a lot of profit that can be made. It's just you have to accept that things can turn around really quickly. Like yesterday, if you bought here yesterday or even up here, then today it's all the way down there. That's a crazy, crazy turnaround. So you just need to trade things the smart way with Bitcoin, because whales can influence the market, and just the random, well, they're not so much random. It's more like I guess it's, I don't know how to explain it, but see how it hit 14K? Hits 14K, and then it turns around. So it just, it meets these levels where it just kind of stops and turns around. On its way up, I was thinking it's going to stop at 10K. Once it hits 10K, it's going to stop here, pull back, and then continue. Then it hit 11K, and I was like, okay, it's going to stop at 11K, pull back, and continue. And it didn't. It didn't. Not until it hit 14K. That's where it stops, pulls back. So that kind of, you need to accept that kind of thing when you're trading with Bitcoin. Anyway, to those of you who are interested in Bitcoin, that's my plan with it. I'm looking for price to settle down here for a potential long. That's what I'm going to do. This analysis has gone on for quite some time. It's one of the longer analysis sessions I've done. So I'm going to wrap this one up, guys. Thank you for attending. And to members, I'll see you on the forum. To everyone else, I'll see you for Tuesday's analysis. Thank you for attending, and I'll see you on Sunday's webinar, actually. But yeah, thank you guys for attending, and I'll see you later.